have something to say. Okay? I have something to say. Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Why would he do that? Before he formed us in our mother's womb, he knew us. So he knows that I like to party and curse sometime. And he knows that's exactly why I need him. What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Brandy, aka Miss B, and welcome back to another episode of Give It Grace podcast. If you're new here, my name is Brandy, aka Miss B, and this is the space where we talk all about grace, okay? The grace we give to others and the grace we give to ourselves, all while trying to figure this thing called life out, right? Because let's be honest, life will present opportunities. Sometimes those opportunities require courage. It just is what it is. The courage to try, the courage to speak up, the courage to go after what it is that you want. But the thing that often stops us is the fear of embarrassment, the fear of somebody saying no, the fear of looking crazy. And that's what today's episode is all about. Something we've all experienced at some point, right? Taking a shot and missing, okay? And I don't mean, y'all know the shots. You know, God's still working on us. But I mean, taking advantage of an opportunity or taking a shot and maybe missing it. The first segment of our show is called Give Them Some Grace. And so this is when we talk about a person of influence or a celebrity or just someone on social media who's really getting dragged out here in the social media streets. And we together see if we could possibly give them some grace. So the person I want to talk about today is a man by the name of Kendall Demouchet. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Sorry about that. Okay. So Kendall recently went viral after he interrupted an event where Keke Palmer, shout out to you, Keke. We love some Keke Palmer. Okay. I really feel like I've grown up with her. Right. She was speaking at an event. And Mr. Kendall decided that he was just going to propose to her right there in front of everyone. Now, of course, Keke, being who she is, handled it very respectfully. She politely declined, right? Because she said, I can't marry you. I don't even know you, which made sense. That was perfectly acceptable, right? But the internet was doing what the internet does, right? And they were dragging him. You know, people were saying things like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Why would he do that? Why would he make a fool of himself? That's desperate. He couldn't have believed that she would have accepted his proposal. You know, so they were dragging him. And yes, I would have to agree, right? It was definitely a bold move of him, right? But I couldn't help but think about something. This is a man who really just saw an opportunity and he took his shot, right? Now, was it a long shot? Absolutely. Was it a wrong shot? Absolutely. Was it a miss? Definitely, right? But he still took it. He still took it. And in that, I think there's something that we can actually learn from, right? Like, how many times in life do we not take the shot? Think about that. How many times do we not apply to the job because we feel like we're underqualified? How many times do we not start the business because we don't have the resource or we don't know if it's actually going to be successful? How many times do we not approach, a person that we like or admire to just say hello because we're afraid? How many times do we not share our ideas, right? How many times do we not go after our dreams? Why is that? A lot of times it's because we're afraid of looking foolish. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of someone telling us no, right? But the truth is, I forgot the name of the famous hockey player that said this quote, but you will absolutely miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Right? So yes, Mr. Kendall, his shot might have been wild, probably the wildest shot so far of the year. But I'll tell you one thing, people are talking about him. And more importantly, he didn't let fear stop him from at least trying, right? Sometimes embarrassment is simply the cost of courage. So instead of just like laughing at him and, talking about how crazy he was, maybe we can also recognize a lesson in this. And the lesson is really closed mouths don't get fed, okay? Closed mouths most certainly do not get fed. And who knows? Maybe the person who he's actually meant to be with saw him, maybe they saw this video and maybe they're like, oh my God, what a grand gesture. How wonderful that is. And they're still out there. Maybe they're looking for him, right? At least he was able to say that he tried, right? So I think that we together can give him some grace, okay? He took his shot. He missed miserably, okay? He missed miserably, but he still took it. I think that's something that we can all be inspired by in a way. It might be a stretch, but I think that we can. So can we please give Mr. Kendall some grace? He was arrested. For this, so I hope that he's out now. But here on this podcast, I think we can certainly give him some grace. So the next segment of our show is called Give It Some Grace. And so this is when I talk about everyday annoyances and things that just get on our nerves. And we together see if we can give it some grace. Okay. So let's talk about something that quietly controls a lot of people's decisions, right? And that's fear. Fear of looking stupid, fear of looking out of place. This fear stops so many people from doing so many things. People won't ask questions. They won't try new hobbies. They won't start businesses. They won't speak up in meetings. They won't post the content that they've had in their phone for years. They won't pursue their dreams. And why? Why is that? A lot of times it's because they're worried that someone will say, that was dumb, or that didn't work, or even worse, they'll laugh. But here's something we don't talk about enough. I have watched countless podcasts, countless documentaries, and I'll tell you what, every successful person has looked foolish at some point. Every entrepreneur, every athlete, every artist, every speaker, every successful person has a story of them looking foolish or feeling foolish. And so what I'm learning is that failure and awkward moments are all a part of the process, right? And you really can't reach success without those moments. But it's when we allow fear and embarrassment to control us that we start to shrink our own lives. So, grace in this situation looks like allowing yourself the freedom to try things without demanding perfection. This is coming from the epitome of a perfectionist. I feel like if it's not perfect, I don't want to do it. And I've had to release myself of that, right? Because growth looks awkward. Sometimes it looks like missing the shot. But at the end of the day going to end, right? And at least you took it. At least you took the shot. So I think we can give ourselves some grace in knowing that we don't need to be perfect and knowing that we can take that shot and that looking a little foolish is all a part of the process. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. Okay. All right, so the last segment of our show is called Give Me Some Grace. And this is the part of the show where I share a personal story or a personal struggle where I could have given some more grace or received some grace. Sometimes we have to learn how to give ourselves grace, right? Especially when it comes to our spiritual walk with God. One of the reasons that I started this podcast was because one, I have something to say. Okay? I have something to say. And Charlemagne said people should start podcasts when they got something to say, and I got something to say. But it's also because I believe that a lot of people that this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. Like, you can be walking with God and very much still be a work in progress. This is me all day, okay? God is still working on me in when I say remember Cat Williams like everything, okay? Every area of my life. I stumble sometimes. It is what it is. I fall short sometimes. It is what it is. But if I'm being honest, you know, sometimes I like to party a little bit. I'm still a little young, okay? Sometimes I say a little curse word here and there. Sometimes I knew better but didn't do better. And for a long time, I felt like I wasn't really doing this whole walking with God thing right. But I think that now what has been so profound in my life is that I've learned that God never asked us to be perfect. He knows we aren't. Before he formed us in our mother's womb, he knew us. So he knows that I like to party and curse sometimes. And he knows that's exactly why I need him. I know that's exactly why I need him. And like my pastor, Dr. Darius says, I got Bible. The Bible says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Not some, not most, all. Okay? But the beauty of grace is found in this next scripture, right? Which says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. So that means that God's grace shows up exactly in the places where we fall short. I experience this every single day of my life, right? And then even more, Bible says, because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his passions never fail. They are new every morning. Every morning, okay? So every morning, new mercy. This means that every single day we wake up with another opportunity to try again. And honestly, that's the best thing about life for me, okay? Because I'm going to fall short. And I just need new mercy on that next day, God. Help me. Okay. So if you're someone like me who feels like, you're not spiritual enough, you're not perfect enough, and that God must somehow be disappointed in you, remember this. Remember me, okay? Because I am far from perfect. God doesn't love us because we're perfect. He loves us while we're still growing. And that's the best part. And sometimes grace means reminding yourself that God is still working on you. I will say that every day. God's still working on me, okay? He is. I need him. Right? And I feel like there are so many people who don't even try to get a relationship that stray away from him because they have this idea that if they're not perfect, then they're not walking with God. They're not on a spiritual journey. God will meet you exactly where you are. I promise you. He has plucked me out of the most craziest situations that I put myself in, right? With so much grace. So, I think we together can give ourselves and people who are in their spiritual walk where God is still working on us some grace. I think we could do that. I think we can, okay? So if you stayed to the end of this episode, I love you. I'm sending you love, light, positivity, and grace. And I'll see you in the next one.